Hello, and thank you for watching this Corn Belt Regional Forecast. I'm Andrew Pritchard, meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, we continue to watch the snowpack across the Corn Belt continue to recede quickly, especially here across the eastern Corn Belt into the Great Lakes. Our office here in Champaign, Illinois, again, we now, if I look out at the lawn here, seeing most of that snow melted. You can still find snow in the ditches and some of the shadowy areas, but rapidly continuing to melt this snowpack here from Illinois into Indiana and Ohio, especially with the help of some warmer temperatures coming in over the next 48 to 72 hours. Now, as we look at the temperature forecast over the next 5 days on the left and the next 10 days on the right, or I should say this is 6 to 10 days, not just the next 10 days. But my point is, you're not able to gather a whole lot of information from this. We're seeing some pockets of slightly cooler temperatures, some pockets of slightly warmer temperatures. And the reason is there's going to be opportunity for both warm-ups and cool-downs here as we move into a more progressive pattern, seeing those warm air, the warm air advection on the leading edge of these storm systems. That'll bring in some warmer temperatures to parts of the Corn Belt, but then we know cool air follows on the backside. So a progressive pattern means seeing storm systems like this moving from west to east across the country here, broadly speaking, but that's going to lead to opportunities for some warmer days ahead, but there will be cooler days mixed in with those. Take the good news with the bad news. The good news with the bad news here as we talk about precipitation too, we've been dealing with a much drier Arctic air mass here that hasn't been supportive of more significant precipitation events, and that is going to come to an end at least over the next 7 to 10 days as, again, this progressive pattern leads us to one that's going to be bringing storm systems across the Corn Belt once again. The first one here Wednesday night into Thursday, delivering some precipitation to parts of the upper Midwest. We have another system that comes through Friday and Saturday, bringing some precipitation to parts of the South and into the Mid-South and Eastern Corn Belt. And then as we look all the way into the next 10 days, you see a little bit more added on here, and that is because we have the potential for one or more storm systems across the central part of the country as we head into next week. Of course, Thanksgiving week, a couple disruptive storm systems as we head through Thanksgiving week is exactly what everyone wants to hear. I know. It has not been an active last 24 hours as we continue to deal with this much drier air mass just for another day or two. We've seen some light precipitation making its way from the northwest to the southeast across parts of the midsection of the country here. We've got a little shortwave that brought some rain overnight to parts of the Dakotas and Minnesota, and that will continue to bring some light rain showers to parts of Illinois and Indiana as we head through the next 24 hours. We can pick that out here on the satellite picture. That would be right here, this little wave making its way through eastern Iowa into northern Illinois today. And that is going to continue to move off to the south and to the east, again bringing some light rain showers to parts of central Illinois into northern and central Indiana as we head through the day today. Now the action is looming off to the west. Again, we'll check in with the radar here and just show you this very, very light rain moving across parts of Illinois, Indiana as we head through the day today. Looking at the temperatures, you can see this little shortwave. Here's this warm front right now dividing the line between the 40s in southwestern Illinois and the mid-30s off to the north. And it's along this warm front that we're seeing the rain develop across the region and slowly move through. Now, this is helping to bring in a warmer and more moist air mass that this system later in the week on Thursday, Wednesday night into Thursday, is going to tap into, delivering some rain to this region here. And we will pick this out as we look now at the high-resolution NAM model. I'll take the oval off and let the forecast kind of speak for itself as we just bring it back, watching first this little short wave, this little frontal boundary, bringing some light rain to Illinois and Indiana as we head through the day today. Again, not talking about anything significant or disruptive, but kind of a cool, drizzly day across parts of the eastern Corn Belt. We then head into the overnight into Wednesday morning, keeping things rather quiet across the Corn Belt, the exception being some snow falling now across parts of the U.S.-Canada border. That includes parts of South Dakota waking up on Wednesday morning to some snow, North Dakota, I should say, and then that would move into northern Minnesota and far northern Wisconsin as we get into Wednesday evening. Now, Wednesday night, we flip our attention back to the south. Now we're seeing a more organized storm system beginning to develop across the midsection of the country. This is the one that brings a more significant dose of precipitation to this region as we head into Wednesday night and Thursday. So here we're at 9 p.m. on Thursday, seeing some snow on the north side here across parts of the Dakotas, far western Nebraska. Seeing more heavy rain now across eastern Nebraska into Iowa and southern Minnesota, reaching into Wisconsin. This rain also now crossing the Mississippi River into Illinois as we head into the overnight on Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Waking up on Thursday morning then with some rain showers falling across the Mississippi River Valley here from parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin down into Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Missouri, all the way down into the south. Right now, the frontal boundary kind of lingering off to the back off to the west. You can see that here right around the Kansas and Missouri border at 6 a.m. on Thursday. That is the cold front. That would be the dividing line at this point on Thursday morning between the much warmer air mass that's nosing into Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana. Temperatures in the 50s and 60s on Thursday in this region, with the cooler air coming in on the back side here, changing some of that precipitation over to snow. So we'll take this through the rest of the morning on Thursday, pausing here at noon on Thursday. At this point, the cold front stretching right here, so still very warm for Thursday at the lunch hour across eastern Illinois into Indiana and Ohio. Again, a blustery, warm day with rain showers across the region, but that cold air does loom on the backside. That'll knock us back down for the weekend across the eastern Corn Belt. So just looking at the total precipitation from these first two storm systems, and what I mean by that is the little quick-moving frontal boundary here across Illinois and Indiana, and then the much larger Wednesday night into Thursday storm system across the upper Midwest. Let's take this back and just time it out. Again, watching the first little frontal boundary bringing some very light rain here for the day on Tuesday across the eastern Corn Belt, and then as we get into Wednesday now, watching some snow falling as we get into Tuesday night and Wednesday across the northern plains, the upper Midwest. And then here comes the much larger storm system now, rain beginning to fall Wednesday night into the day on Thursday. With this talking about an inch, maybe an inch and a half of rain in the heaviest areas here across the upper Midwest, and then some snow falling on the north side there. How much snow? Well, we'll just play this out real quick. Again, looking at the high-resolution NAM model, seeing the snow stacking up a trace to a coating here across the Dakotas. Heavier snow starts falling across Minnesota and far northern Wisconsin. And that's where we could talk about 4 to 6 inches of snow in some of the heavier amounts up here. Now let's take a wider look, and let's take a little bit of a longer look, because I mentioned that we'd also have a storm system here on Friday and Saturday. So passing quickly by the Thursday frontal boundary, or the Tuesday frontal boundary here in the eastern Corn Belt, passing rather quickly by the Wednesday night and now Thursday storm system we see right here again. Rain falling across southern Minnesota and much of Wisconsin here as we wake up on Thursday, with rain extending all the way down into Iowa, Illinois, and Missouri. As we head through the day on Wednesday into midday Thursday, that snow falling across the far upper Midwest. This storm system beginning to kick itself off to the east, and it's Thursday night into Friday now we see the second storm begin to develop across the south, and that's going to bring some precipitation to south and eastern portions of the Corn Belt, talking about southern Missouri, getting into southern Illinois, parts of Indiana, Ohio, and the mid-south here, Kentucky and Tennessee. So midday on Friday, that storm system, the area of low pressure centered over Arkansas, but seeing some of that precipitation again kind of riding along the Ohio River Valley. There's a slight chance we could see some snowflakes mix in here through this corridor, through parts of Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, but not talking about accumulating snow, talking about maybe some light snowflakes just falling on the north side of this. But again, high question marks there. It's just something, don't be shocked if on Friday or Saturday you see a couple snowflakes falling across this corridor here. Let's go ahead and take the drawings off and just time that out one more time for you. So starting on Wednesday night, here we go, Thursday, midday, Thursday evening. This would be midnight on Friday morning. Sunrise on Friday, heavy rain falling across this region here. Midday on Friday, getting into Friday evening. Overnight Friday into Saturday, this is when maybe a couple snowflakes across the eastern Corn Belt, Illinois into Ohio. Midday on Saturday now, maybe some snowflakes still falling across the far eastern Corn Belt. And then by the time we get to Saturday evening, Saturday night, this storm system is out of here. And then we turn our attention to the potential for another storm system or two across the central part of the country next week. Taking a look at the total accumulated precipitation from the GFS, we'll just play this once more. Here's the Tuesday frontal boundary, here's the Thursday storm system, and then here is the Friday-Saturday storm system. I'm going to pause it, though, before we get to next week, because big question marks do remain, and I've teased enough as to what we're looking at next week. We will also have to deal with some blustery conditions with the Thursday storm system. I'll show you that here. The Tuesday system passes quietly. But here we go on Thursday. This is what brings in the much warmer air mass here to the central and eastern Corn Belt here Wednesday night into Thursday. You see the strong winds coming in on the backside. That is the cold air advection coming in behind this, with the area of low pressure situated right here. This is 6 a.m. on Thursday. So taking the drawings off, just noting here that as we head through Wednesday night into Thursday, likely dealing with a very blustery day, especially across the midsection of the country. Now, I mentioned the chance for some very light snow, and I just wanted to reassure you here across the Ohio River Valley, we're not talking about accumulating snow. We're looking at the ensemble forecast of 3 inches of snow or more. This is the little corridor where maybe you see a few snowflakes, but we're not talking about accumulating snow from parts of Kansas along the Ohio River Valley. This again being with that Friday and Saturday storm system. Now, where we could see some snow accumulating, and likely will, again, this first little wave here that goes through Tuesday night into Wednesday, bringing some snow to parts of the Canadian Prairie, getting into North Dakota. And then this would be on the backside of the Wednesday and Thursday storm system, likely dropping about 4 to 6 inches across northern Minnesota into far northern Wisconsin and the UP of Michigan. That's where we'll find our snow accumulating over the next 5 days or so. Now, what's changed? Well, over the last 2 weeks, we've been dealing with a pattern that brings in a lot of reinforcing shots of dry air to the central part of the country from the Arctic, kind of keeping the Gulf moisture at bay across the Gulf of Mexico. But let's go ahead, let's see where we're headed now as we again begin to move toward a progressive pattern, a wavy pattern within the jet stream, keeps things moving. Not only that, but it taps into the Gulf. So here's what we're dealing with. There's the Thursday system. Here goes Fridays. And then I'm going to show you what happens here as we head into next week. There we go again, talking about the potential for 1 or more storm systems tapping into the Gulf. And again, that's because of this progressive pattern, this wavy pattern now that we have in the jet stream. Instead of being stuck with this huge ridge in the Gulf of Alaska, with the big trough that kept us very cold across the eastern half of the country, kept things very warm along the west coast, we were kind of just stuck in a blocking pattern like that, where we were blocked up across the Pacific. We are now moving as I just play this out, and again, that is what leads to interesting weather. This is very seasonally appropriate now, talking about the potential for these big storm systems developing and moving across the central part of the country, these temperature fluctuations. This is November, is what we had over the last couple of weeks. That was a very early winter chill. That was an unusual air mass across the region, and an unusual blocked up weather pattern. Again, as we just play the temperature anomalies over the next week or so, again, you're not seeing us get stuck in one pattern or another. If you kind of focus in on where you live, me specifically, that would be here in the state of Illinois. If I just play this loop, I'll pause it and do it a little bit slower here, but we see warm air advection here Wednesday, Thursday, some warmer days, cooling back down for the weekend. We have to talk about the potential for storm systems next week, bringing in warm air in advance and cool air behind it. So again, days of warmth ahead, cooler days ahead, active rainy days, snow if you're off toward the north. We are moving into an active pattern, at least over the next 7 to 10 days. Again, the European model, if I just kind of show you what we're hinting at as we get into next week, if this would pause once more, bringing it into, we'll get to next week here looking at, this will be around the 25th, 26th of November. Right now, the European model wanting to develop a large storm system here across the midsection of the country. Again, this would be warm in advance, cool air coming in on the backside. This would be very rainy, very stormy across the midsection of the country. And if I just play it out into Thursday now, the 28th, Thanksgiving Day, the European model wants to put another storm system in the exact same place. So again, not focusing on details here, but just digesting the overall pattern. A heads up as we head into Thanksgiving week, if you have travel plans, just don't be surprised if we've got a disruptive storm system or two across the midsection of the country. And that is reflected here in the ensemble forecast, looking at the week 2 precipitation anomaly forecast, seeing higher forecast precipitation chances here across the midsection of the country. That, again, for the potential for the development of 1 or more storm systems across the southern U.S., tracking across the Corn Belt. Now, as we just finished looking at the high temperatures for the next 5 days, your highs for the day on Tuesday, here we see this frontal boundary again that's bringing the light rain to the region here, kind of dividing the warmer air mass with 60s and 70s across the central plains, 30s and 40s for the highs across the northern plains into the upper Midwest and eastern Corn Belt. Wednesday, high temperatures. Thursday, this is your warmest day, your warm, blustery, kind of rainy day across the eastern Corn Belt with temperatures in the 50s and 60s, which will feel great after being kind of locked in the freezer for the last 7 to 10 days. But then cold air comes in on the backside, dropping us back down into the 40s and 50s for the highs at the warmest across the eastern Corn Belt, with highs below freezing in the upper Midwest. And then finishing with your Saturday high temperatures here below freezing in the upper Midwest. And again, we've got a fresh snowpack now across northern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, keeping it rather chilly in that region, while we do start recovering with temperatures in the 50s and 60s in the central plains into the mid-south. Your overnight low temperatures for the night, then tonight into Wednesday morning, below freezing here off to the north across the Dakotas into Minnesota, Wisconsin, and then patchy below freezing temperatures in the low 30s across the eastern Corn Belt. Overnight lows rather warm Wednesday night into Thursday in the east, coolest off to the north and to the west. Friday lows, and then Saturday waking up to temperatures below freezing across the entire Corn Belt. As always, Eric Snodgrass will have an in-depth look at the evolution of the next 1 to 2 weeks in our Thursday morning ag forecast video. We'll also have our long-range U.S. weather analysis on Wednesday morning, and then I will be back to talk about the Corn Belt on Friday. Have a great day.